Good morning, Patrick County. Welcome to another program of the people, the places, and the performers of Patrick County. Tourism is dedicated to promoting the county through print, video, and various products to showcase the beauty here. Patrick County is an excellent place to visit, live, love, and enjoy. We have everything here from primitive camping to five-star luxury, our history, outdoor tranquility, hiking, biking, and the beauty of the Blue Ridge Mountains makes this a destination worth seeing. So come, get lost, and find yourself here. All right. So this morning we are very happy to have another outstanding Patrick County with us this morning, Mrs. Mary Hill Dellenback. And I've come to know Mary through the tourism council and from all of the things that she does throughout the county. So we're going to let Mary just introduce herself and kind of tell us just a little bit about you and what you do here in the county and how you're just so involved with it. So let's hear from Mary.
Okay, I was born Mary Martha Dellenback, and when I started going to the Marine Corps, my birth certificate didn't even have my name on it, so they had to clarify who I really was and fix my birth certificate. But the reason now I go by Mary Dellenback Hill is because I was in the military under Dellenback, and then later in the military under Hill. So that's my legal name now, and people wonder why I do that. I feel like it's important, and there's so many Mary Hills, like John Smith.
Yeah.
And so, I mean,
yeah.
It's just a clarification.
Yeah, you don't want to get lost in the shuffle.
And I was born June 19, 1948, and it was closely down the road here, just across the state line. My dad and mom was renting from the old Sparga farm, and they raised tobacco and stuff, and they lived in a small rental house, and that's where I was born. But right beside of it was the Hill family, which I eventually married into. So you're going to understand our two families. We kind of went in circles until eventually two of us Dellenbacks married into the Hill family.
And what part of the county was that again that you were? I know you.
I was born in Surrey County.
In Surrey County.
And the address was Mount Airy, North Carolina, because it was a rural area, but that's the way they did it, bringing the mail out. And it was, now it's 104 Highway, but in Riverside Drive is what it's named now.
Okay. Did you come to Patrick County a lot as a child, or were you?
No, I was just going to say, if you wanted me to go on into my dad, I was born in 48, and my dad was 40 years old when I was born. He got married at 35, and by 40, he had 4 kids, and he had 3 boys, and then me as the first daughter. But in 49 is when he bought the farm over there.
Okay.
Across the state line in Patrick County. He bought 169 acres.
Okay.
And John Mitchell owned it then. But that was the previous Letcher Stuart's family land. And they said originally there was 1,500 acres. So the Mitchells had it for a while, and then my dad bought 169 acres. And then across the river there is more of the land that wound up being the Brown, Icy and George Albert Brown's farm, which they helped get donated or transferred into what there's the park now, Laurel Hill Park.
Okay, good deal. So he was a tobacco farmer, is what?
Yes.
Okay. Good
well, my dad, they originally was sharecroppers on the Boneyard farm in Patrick County when he was growing up. His mom and dad had bought land, and when the Depression came or whatever, they had made some kind of loan, and when they couldn't pay the fertilizer bill or whatever, the bank took everything.
Oh, man.
Took the 33 acres they owned in North Carolina, joined in the 10 acres and their little house they had. They took everything. So that's why my dad wound up
in Patrick County.
Well, he was in Patrick, but his mom and dad owned some land in North Carolina that joined what they originally owned. But they sharecropped at the Boneyard farm.
Yeah.
And by the time the war started, World War II, all of them were still home. I mean, but they eventually all got married, like
Yeah.
in their 30s.
Okay. What school did you go to?
Blue Ridge
Blue Ridge,
Elementary.
How was the
It's
school?
like Blue Ridge High School Elementary
Okay.
combined when I went.
Okay. What year did you graduate out there?
66.
66. What'd you do right after you got out of high school?
Well, I knew by the 6th grade that I was going to join the Marine Corps,
All right.
the Women's Marine Corps,
Okay.
which it was separate then.
Yeah.
I had a cousin that had went in, and she came home in her uniform and talked all about it and everything. So I thought, well, that's a good thing to do.
Well, how was it in the military? Because you say that now correct me if I'm wrong. Were you a drill sergeant?
No.
No. What'd you do in the Marine?
When I joined the Women Marines, I went to Parris Island, South Carolina for a boot camp. Yeah, they called it boot camp, but we didn't wear boots. Then women were Women Marines. We had to wear the proper uniform. We had to have the lipstick that matched the cap cord on our hat. We could not smoke in public unless we was in like a dining room area or something. You couldn't walk the streets smoking. You had to wear your hose. You couldn't have a run in the hose. I mean, they were real strict about a woman being a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trained to be a legal secretary.
Okay.
And eventually I went from there to, when I graduated at Parris Island, I went to San Diego, was working in battalion legal. Then I went to Hawaii, and that's where I worked for the most time, almost 2 years. The Fleet Marine Force Pacific during the Vietnam War. And eventually it was legal, it went into staff judge advocate. So by the time I left there, I was a clerk of the staff judge advocate.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got to do
Most of the time I did enjoy the Marine.
Did you get to do any traveling outside of just stationed out at Hawaii was where you were at, or?
Well, they had, when I was in Hawaii, they took us to the Big Island, some of the women in the,
mm-hmm.
where I was stationed. And it was like a trip to just enjoy, show off what was there and to try to enjoy yourself as a young Marine woman.
Good deal.
Stationed away from home, I guess.
So we can see that the military's changed a lot. So then they were just really making sure that you all pretty much stayed with their perception of what a Marine woman should be, I guess you may say.
Even then, a lot of people didn't think it was proper for women to go in the military.
Oh, yeah.
But we know from our history, what we've read, that there was nurses.
Yeah.
And I did see the movie about the black ladies that was in and worked in the post office, and I thought that was an awesome movie.
Yeah.
But I'd never heard of it until the movie came out. I didn't know about that history until that came out.
Yeah.
But the war just made such a big difference.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, my dad got married at 35, and by the time I was born, he had 3 sons, and within 5 years, he had like 4 kids, and he was struggling, renting, and then that's when he started going to night school up there at Blue Ridge High School Elementary, or Blue Ridge Elementary High School. They had an agricultural shop in the back of the school there, and you could go. They trained the young men there in school, but outsiders could go in and actually weld and make things because they had all these tools and shops and stuff.
Yeah.
So the veterans, the Andersons, the Bonurants, and my dad all went to that night school, and they got paid. So not only was he farming after he bought the farm, he was still going to night school and getting paid by the Veterans
Well, that's good.
Administration.
And that's something that, growing up in the county myself, and I mean, to just have turned 56, we do a lot here in the county of wanting, especially through economic development, wanting to promote CT programs and stuff. But Blue Ridge was an innovator in that, having them at night school already, teaching people trades and stuff outside. So that's awesome. That's good to hear that.
And my dad also, by being a war veteran, I'm pretty sure him, the Bonurants, and the Andersons all got like a government loan to buy and to farm. Because eventually all 3 of them families, the Bonurants, the Andersons, and the Dellenbacks, wound up being not only tobacco, but had milk cows.
Okay.
So eventually the farm my dad bought, the state came in and built a highway all the way to the barn and built a bridge because there was 2 fords that came into the farm. You had to cross the river in a vehicle or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But when the state came in and built the highway and the bridge, the mail came to our farm all the way to the barn. The house was here, but the barn was here. And the Carnation Milk Company came to the barn to pick the milk up. So
now, how many of y'all remember Carnation milk? Some of our viewers probably don't remember Carnation milk. They used to come in little cans, right? Is it well, or you always had it probably in glass?
Well, I was just saying that the company
Yeah, the
came
company
in the
Carnation,
big truck and
yeah.
had the Carnation milk.
Yeah.
And Daddy sold milk, and he used to take it over to the main road.
Yeah.
But eventually,
Innovation.
I think the people here in Patrick that worked in the government office, what was it? Future Farmers of America or USDA?
We used to have Future Farmers of America, FFA, here, and they still made them.
Well, it was something about farming, and then it went to USDA.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. But I think that man that worked in the office there, and I can't think of his name, he helped those farmers get the road and get the milk of the Carnation Milk Company coming in and the mail coming over.
Yeah. Now you mentioned,
but we still had to walk.
Oh yeah.
Even though the mail came and the Carnation Milk, us children still had to walk to the main road
to get on the school
bus.
bus.
Yes,
oh, yeah.
In all weather.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in the county here has that type of a testimony as well too about having to do a lot of walking. But you mentioned the name when you were talking about a little bit about your past, Letcher. Let me hear it, because I know one of the things that intrigued me when I first met you is that you have a lot of passion about history. You have a lot of passion about the area that you grew up in, and you have a making sure that people understand Letcher. Talk about the Letcher as you know it, and then the oldest grave that we have here in the county, William Letcher.
Yeah.
What touch on it just a little bit.
Well, like I said, my dad bought the farm in 49,
mm-hmm.
and it was just crossing the river, the ford of the river and everything. So I guess if anybody knew about that grave and the history and all, they never came that. Very seldom did anybody come up, even know what it was.
Yeah.
And me, growing up as a child, I knew it was an important grave and it had Revolutionary War, but even then, I don't think I knew he was the great-grandfather of Jeb Stuart.
Mm-hmm.
But to my understanding, Bethina is the one they said that got the granite slab made and put there. And I'm
mm-hmm.
trying to think if she was the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
When he was killed by the Tories.
He
was killed in the home or at the home by a Tory. And supposedly his wife and daughter were present when he was killed. And but he was a revolutionary patriot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been some misunderstanding or whatever that he definitely was in the militia, but some are saying he was a captain and some a colonel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's been clarified. But I've been to Henry County, which was the county before it. And they know that William Letcher was a patriot. They know he died in the Revolutionary War. It is established in Henry County records.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why it's important now, it's going to be important from then all the way throughout history, but where we're starting to really take a look at our general history with the Virginia 250, because we're going to be celebrating 250 years of the America, and that's going to be in 2026. And right now we're working on having ideas formulated for a big celebration around the VA 250. And actually we've discussed in the committee that we have that we're going to start out at Laurel Hill. Can you get a little bit, just a brief history of Laurel Hill?
Yeah.
and with William Letcher and him being you said the great grandfather?
Yeah.
Of
great-grandfather
of Jeb
John
Stuart.
Stuart.
Yeah.
Well, let me back up just a wee bit. In the 50s, now I was born in 48, but I'm pretty sure I remember the black car coming. They came to the farm, turned in to go like they're coming to the house, but they stop at the grave. They don't even come to the house.
Mm-hmm.
They stop at the grave and they get out, and there are several of them. They're walking around looking at the grave. So my dad comes out and starts, what what are y'all, you know? And they would look at him and they want to move the grave and the granite memorial stone. Well, my dad didn't want him to, and my mother certainly didn't want him to.
Mm-hmm.
So they did not move it. But what I don't understand to this day, across the river there at the Browns, Icy Bowman Brown was the historian for the Stuarts. I mean, she even had his photo, Jeb Stuart's photo, in her living room. But she and George, her husband, allowed them to move everything of the Stuarts.
Yeah.
And
It's hard.
to this day, I do not understand
Yeah.
how that happened.
Okay.
Because of her and her interest in the history and what she already had gathered. But then, as I said, William Letcher was the great-grandfather of General Stuart. Sometime after Bethina married, and then her daughter married, I was trying to think, her daughter married the Stuart. Anyway, sometime in between his death and her marrying and having the child, there was another house built over across the river on the bluff looking over towards the Blue Ridge Mountains. And the Ararat River was below. So the house burnt. I mean, Jeb was raised there and everything, and all of his brothers and sisters, but eventually the house did burn.
Mm-hmm.
So, what else?
Yeah. Oh no, that's fine. I mean, that's good. We're just talking about that. So, as far as what Laurel Hill, were you involved in actual getting that up and going? Okay.
No, I don't know if you know it or not. We changed the flower on the sign that goes into the park. They had the red, like what is it, rhododendron, but that. I climbed that bluff many times, and I know the real blooming of the laurel hill, of the laurel bushes. Anyway, so the sign has, now we have the real Laurel Hill bush on the sign.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, if I'd have been there in the beginning, that wouldn't have happened. Yeah. And I don't even really know why it happened that way.
Yeah. And that's one of, that's one of the things that we're running into is that so much history still to unearth. There's so much history here to still make sure that we get it all correct. Because again, as we're dabbling into it, we know that during the Revolutionary Wars, what we're focusing on for the VA 250, but we wasn't actually established as Patrick County yet. But we still got a lot of history that we're trying to get correct and get worked out and everything as well too. But one of the things too that I wanted to not just with the Laurel Hill, but you're very heavily involved in the Willis Gap community too. Tell us what all you like to do out there and what you do with the Willis Gap community.
Well, about my military, I was in the Marines, and then in the 82, I joined the Army Reserves. And then in 91, they wanted me to recruit. I wound up in West Virginia. I was there about a year, had a very serious car accident, recuperated, stayed in the recruiting until 96. In 96 is when I came back to Ararat, Virginia. I left in 91, another military, but it was Army Reserve active duty AGR, the Guard program. So 96, I come back to Ararat. And we live in the house they were originally built. We built a small brick home in like 1974 on, it's now Rabbit Ridge Road. We lived there, and then eventually we built another house where my son Joshua lives now on the Hollow Road. But during that time, my husband died in 2003. So after he died, I mean, when I came back in 96, I wanted to do volunteer. I wanted to be involved in the fire department and all that, or the emergency service. But my husband never felt like it. He wanted to. Mm-hmm. So after he died is when I really started to volunteer. I talked to Sheriff Hubbard about the community watch. I feel like I was the one that helped him get it started. I feel like we were the first ones that had the community watch, but I think he scheduled one closer to the Stuart area or whatever, but I feel like we were the original community watch. So I was involved in that. And then, of course, I attend church at Hunter's Chapel Assembly Church on the Ararat Highway. And then eventually I did start going to the Willis Gap. I believe, I was going some before my husband died, but not a lot. I wanted him to go, and he just didn't like to be out in public a lot.
Yeah.
So eventually I started singing. I had never sang solo. And eventually I got up and started singing solo, of course, with other people playing in backup, not totally on my own. And I do like to sing, and I've never had lessons. I feel like I sing by ear, and I grew up learning. I mean, you just hear the music, the piano, and you're a child, and you listen, you hear it. And so I try to sing by ear. I'm not saying I am a professional, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, I know my wife was telling me that she heard you, I think, maybe on one of the Facebook postings or something from Willis Gap, and she said she was intrigued by the way that you sounded, and she really enjoyed it. But talking about volunteering, was that just something you just wanted to give back to the community of? You said you wanted to pretty much do everything you could do. Is that just a part of who you are?
As soon as I graduated, I went to work at Proctor Silex in Mount Airy, a manufacturing made toasters. Then I went in the Marine Corps because I had to get the age and everything. So I worked there a few months. I'm gone 3 years to the day. I come back. I get married, have my first child, all in 1970. I go back to Proctor Silex. I worked there 20 years with all the skills I have, all the knowledge I have. I wound up working at Proctor Silex for 20 years. When the offer came for me to go to recruit in 1991, it was a big step in my life. I knew I could do it, and when I did it, I enjoyed it. I got much more money. I mean, they let me keep the rank I had in the reserves and paid me on active duty with that rank and time and grade. So not only was it financially beneficial, it was beneficial to me because it allowed me to be the real person that I was.
Good deal.
I mean, all the years I worked at Proctor, it was like you have a job, you have bills to pay, you got kids to feed and send to school. So you go to work every day. I mean, it was like automatic. I wasn't thinking about what I could do or couldn't do or whatever. I just, every moment you did what you thought you had to do. And I'm amazed at that. I don't know if there's other women or people that have done that. But okay, where am I at?
But you was talking about your job, though, and I think, and not to take your thought, but I think that's what a lot of us do. You touched on something right there too. A lot of times we all, I think, will get in a pattern, but how many of us are really doing what we really want to do, and how many of us are doing what we really love instead of just
See, the thing that intrigues me now about it, I didn't even really think that much about it.
It was just living. I mean, that's all. I mean, it's just life as life was dealt your hand. So
recruiting in West Virginia was a very big eye opener. I could recruit the best young men and women, the intelligent men and women from school. It was like I was an older woman and they trusted me. And I would get so many of the highly, like 3As, they call them on the ASVAB test. That's the test you take for the military. I would get so many of them, and then they'd come in there and they'd say, Mary, you've got to go get some of these people that's been in before, because they wanted veterans that had already served to come back into the Army Reserves. So anyway, I just learned that I could do a lot and I could help people. So when I come home in 96, and my husband died and everything, and I was able to do what I felt like I wanted to do or needed to do. And volunteerism was very important. So I did get into Willis Gap. I just started singing a little and helping out in the kitchen. My first job was the kitchen. And I was doing it by myself, and that was really hard because you don't want to handle food and money. So I was having to wash my hands, twist and turn to get the drinks or whatever. But now they do too. One does food, one does money, which is very much better. And eventually they got on the Crooked Road. It happened about the time I was started going there. And you had to, the music venue that we have had to be already accelerated, like I think, to 5 years before you put in. So they definitely had been going 5 years before they applied for the affiliated partner with the Crooked Road, in which they did get. And then eventually, while I was there, the Smithsonian magazine called and wanted to know if they could stop by, because Abigail Tucker was a writer, and she was going to travel the Crooked Road. And sure enough, they definitely went to Floyd, because Floyd is one of the main venues. But she was intrigued with us and came to us. So we wound up, Susanna Rabb came later and took the actual photo that's in the Smithsonian magazine. And you can look it up on Google, because you can find it today. I believe that was in 2013. And when Susanna Rabb was taking the photo, I took a photo of her taking the photo, and it wound up in the Mount Airy paper on the front page. So that was a big thing. And then I started just doing a few videos. I was working in the kitchen, so I'd come around the corner and try to video and work in the kitchen. And then I can't even remember now if I was putting it on Facebook on mine. Anyway, nowadays I am videoing, not working in the kitchen. I just do videos and photos, and I write articles for the paper. And I believe we have one today. Have you got the paper?
In the paper.
Well, I know y'all get it Wednesday morning. I get it Thursday, but I'm signed up for digital, so I read it yesterday.
Good deal.
And so I have an article in there about the Willis Gap Jam. And then about the love sign. Sandra Belcher. When Sandra was here, she called me and had said, have you ever thought about doing a love sign for the Willis Gap? And no, we hadn't. And so we started talking about it on the board, the people that were on the board, and they left it up to me. So I thought, well, we'll do LOVE, and the O will be the what's it called now for the Crooked Road? It's the banjo, but it definitely would make the O in the love sign. So that's how we started out, and nobody else would say anything. So we went on a couple of months, and I thought to myself, why don't we do something that's with instruments? And that's when I thought the bass could be the L. Because later when David helped design the actual, I put it on paper, but he made them, designed it and showed us on the computer. So the bass, and then he put the stick thing. Anyway, the bow. So that made the bow. So that made the L, and then we still, right there it is now, the Crooked Road sign. The banjo was the O, and then for the V, I did a fiddle and a mandolin, and then for E, I thought there's musical notes that look exactly like an E. So that's how I came up with that.
And it did a good job too. And as you can see, I mean, Mary has done a lot for the county, especially in the Willis Gap. She's still doing a whole lot more. I'm intrigued by the way that she has a lot of tenacity and a lot of passion, and she is another one of the hidden gems to a certain extent here in Patrick County as well too. And there's several of them, and that's why we call it the people, the places, and the performers of Patrick County. So not only is she, of course, a person because she's here with me, but she also is a performer. She does sing. Check out Willis Gap. But I want to say in our closing with the interview, there's so much more that we could talk about. And that's what's so unique about the county here in Patrick and the different people that we have. First of all, I want to say thank you for your service, though. That's very important.
Thank you, James.
And for what you did, too, also in just the recruiting and seeing your passion, too, because while we were sitting here talking, I could see that you were talking about different aspects. But when you did start talking about the recruiting, your face lit up. So no doubt you got a chance to meet a lot of different people when you've seen some chances where you probably improved people's lives, especially by getting them involved with the military and actually having a stable future ahead of them too. And one thing too, like you had mentioned, if we can take anything away from interviewing with her today is really take a look at what you're doing. I mean, if your heart really isn't in it, instead of just going through life and having something, think about that. Their jobs, and we do have family that we have to raise, their bills that we have to pay.
Yes, sir.
But are you really enjoying it? And I'm again, it's very thankful for Mary. She's a member of our tourism council, and she makes sure that the area that she does serve, we do not forget about them. You're going to hear more from the Laurel Hill, especially in the revolutionary side of it, as we continuously working out our VA 250 celebrations. And we just, again, look forward to continuously working with you, Mary. And again, thank you for all that you've done for the county. And we really appreciate it.
Well, I have been told that I am like alert times 3. I know some people don't think that's a good thing, but I can't help it.
You're like a what now?
Alert times 3.
Alert times 3. Okay.
At my age, it's a little bit unusual.
Yeah.
But I see things and hear things, and my ears are very sensitive. I have to actually wear earplugs when I do the videos.
Yeah, yeah.
So once I got out of the Proctor Silex of doing just manufacturing work to day, the same old thing. When I was in recruiting and learned that I could think and do things and see things that needed to be changed or fixed or helped or whatever, it just started coming naturally.
That's good. Well, good. And that's something that, again, as we'll wrap it up, but again, it took a while, but you finally got to where you could tap into that volunteerism, the drive. Let me tell you now, she definitely has some drive. She has a lot of passion, and she has a lot of input, which we're thankful for.
But James, it just comes out of me.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to make it happen.
Yeah, and but that's a passion, and that's, if we want to take anything away from that, that's what we need. And people, if you have it, then let it come out, and we're very thankful for it too.
And I was told I was a late bloomer,
yeah,
like going from manufacturing to actually being a people person and doing things for others and volunteering.
Well, thank God for the curve, though. It might have took a rough road to get there, but you got there, and we're very thankful for it. All right, Patrick County, this is Mary Dellenback Hill. Mary Dellenback Hill. All right, and you will see her in and about, and if you have an opportunity, go out to the Willis Gap Community Center. They have music there every week. They do an outstanding job. It's one of the places, again, that Crooked Road, she touched on that. We didn't even have a chance much to talk about the Crooked Road and what it does here for them, for the county. We talked a little bit about the VA 250, tourism. But again, thank you, Mary, for coming in today, doing people,
sir.
Places, and the performers. We appreciate it. Keep up the good work you're doing.
I appreciate you,
Yeah,
James.
and listen, for the young people, which is me, and anyway, for the young people, think about that. Take that opportunity now to get involved and do some volunteering in the county, because we do need it. We've got a lot here. We've got a lot of outstanding people, outstanding places, and we got some outstanding performers. And this is Patrick County. We thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you next time with another edition of the people, the places, and the performers of Patrick. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.